Well, it seems we were wrong about Brexit all along. The British have broken free from the shackles of the EU. This has allowed them to approve the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine against COVID-19 almost a month ahead of the EU. Matt Hancock has said as much, the Health Secretary has said as much. The British are saved, and that's thanks to Brexit. Hurrah for Brexit! Mahlzeit, Richie here again, welcome back, and before I do get started, this is very good news for the world in general. Whatever side of the debate you are on the Brexit debate, wherever you live, here in Germany, where I live, or in the UK, this is good news, and in general it's good news. We are finally coming out of what has been a horrible, horrible year, plagued by this pandemic. A change is on the horizon. It seems a return to an almost normal life is going to be with us very soon wherever we live. We've talked about the pandemic on this channel every now and again, and as ever I would encourage you to use the comments section to tell me about your own personal experiences. Have you been able to continue working? Has your work been hit? Maybe you're one of the poor freelance workers working in the arts or in the catering business that have been particularly hard hit. By all means, please let us know how you're getting on. Reach out, talk to us here down in the comments section. But of course, unless you have been living under a rock for the last few weeks or months, you will be aware that various programs for the development of a vaccine are nearing the end now. They've gone through the compulsory 3 stages of testing and are very close to being approved. Most predominantly here, the joint American-German collaboration between Pfizer and BioNTech. Here in Germany, of course, is going to be the first virus to be, well, it is indeed the first vaccine to be approved by any government in the world, and that honour in this case has gone to the government of the UK, the British government. Boris Johnson on Wednesday the 3rd of December announced that the mass immunisation programme against COVID would indeed even start next week, and it was the Health Secretary Matt Hancock who stirred up a little bit of controversy when he claimed that it was actually because of Brexit that Britain, the UK, was ahead of the rest. As per usual, I am referencing a couple of newspaper articles. This particular one that I'm quoting from at the moment is from The Guardian. I will include links to the articles in the description box if you want some further reading. It was Health Secretary Matt Hancock who had claimed that it was, quote, because of Brexit, unquote, that the UK had been able to fast-track the approval of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. The rest of Europe, of course, the European Union is governed by the EMA, the European Medicines Agency, and they are awaiting the final approval from this trans-European body before they start with the immunisation programme. Hancock said, because of Brexit, we've been able to make a decision based on the UK regulator, a world-class regulator, and not to go at the pace of the Europeans who are moving a little bit more slowly. Even the Handelsblatt here in Germany with their headline, I'll read the headline for you, als erstes Land erteilt Großbritannien eine Notfallzulassung und demonstriert damit seine Unabhängigkeit von der EU. So Great Britain has been the first government to approve the vaccine, thus demonstrating its independence from the EU. Kind of a loaded headline that goes along with the slant that Matt Hancock put on it, and in this video I want to ask the question as to whether these claims are substantiated at all, and look at the question, did we get it wrong about Brexit all along? Are the Brits going to be doing better because of Brexit? A few details then, because the Prime Minister was speaking at Prime Minister Boris Johnson was speaking at a press conference yesterday as I'm recording this on the Wednesday the 3rd of December, and he said there is now a very good hope of normal life returning by the spring. He said Britain is set to receive 800,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine next week, so the week starting the 7th of December. I think the Monday will be the 7th of December, but we have to bear in mind that the population of the UK is some almost 67 million, so 67 million people living in the UK, and of course at the press conference they also highlighted that they will be starting with the particularly vulnerable groups. That's going to be those groups highlighted by the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation as being particularly vulnerable. That's going to be elderly people and people with underlying medical conditions, of course. Boris Johnson did then say that it should help to prevent 99% of the deaths from the virus, which is great, because the UK, of course, has had some 75,000 deaths estimated to be associated with the coronavirus or due to the coronavirus. The Handelsblatt article goes along very much with this. Obviously the Handelsblatt has got a more economic slant on it, and it points out that the share price of BioNTech increased by 7% because of the good news, because of the approval, and it's now priced at €102. The company's boss did agree with that, saying that he expected the start of the immunisation programme in the UK to severely reduce the number of high-risk patients that would need to be treated in hospitals. So it's going to be good news for the hospitals. We're going to see some relief in the hospital treatment. Getting back to the Boris Johnson press conference then, it is very interesting to notice that he really did distance himself from the comments of Matt Hancock. He said, it's a huge moment, it's definitely a huge moment, but the idea, he says as a quote, the idea is not that we're first, but the idea is to have safe, effective vaccines in the pandemic, and that we can create confidence, and nothing is more important than confidence with respect to vaccines, he said. And to put this into perspective, the European Medicines Agency, the one that's governing our ultimate decision here in Germany, for instance, and throughout the EU as to when there will be an approval, is going to be approving the virus by the latest of the 29th of December. So we're not talking a complete month, we're talking maybe 3 weeks. And at this time, of course, that's a matter of days after such a long year behind us. Does it really make that much difference? But this is the actual key as to answering our question as to whether Brexit has made it possible for the British to get ahead of the rest, get ahead of the competition, as they like to bill themselves now, get ahead of the EU. And there was immediately a backlash from Jens Spahn, our health minister here in Germany, who pointed out quite clearly that it is nothing to do with EU regulations or Brexit. Jens Spahn himself pointed out that even in Germany, the government in Berlin had actually considered fast-tracking this independently of the EMA. Pointed out that any member state would have the right in such exceptional circumstances to decide on an emergency approval of a vaccine under EU law, even though we are still governed by the EMA. And indeed, we are still in a transition period as far as Brexit is concerned until the end of this year, the end of 2020. The UK has officially left the EU, is no longer a member, but the transition period means that a lot of the same laws apply anyway, and that also covers the coverage of the EMA, the European Medicines Agency. So this exception, this fast-track exception, is in accordance with EU rules, as we are still governed by the EU rules in the UK. What is interesting about this whole episode is Boris Johnson's attitude is very calm attitude yesterday, distancing himself clearly from Matt Hancock. Those of you that are used to listening to Boris Johnson will know that he's usually very gung-ho, and he has ridden the wave of national feeling that has been Brexit. He's adopted Brexit. He wasn't an absolute Eurosceptic in the beginning. He's famously known for having written 2 articles for a newspaper, one in favour of Brexit, one against Brexit, and declaring himself to be undecided. But he well and truly pledged his allegiance to the Brexit campaign when it came to tactics. Basically, he saw that as his main tactic to be able to win power, and ultimately he did indeed become Prime Minister thanks to backing the campaign, the gamble, but it paid off. And he's always been one of these people who's spoken with bravado about the whole idea of no deal is better than a bad deal. He's willing to exit the EU without a deal whatsoever, and been very tough in his language, his rhetoric towards the EU when it comes to negotiations. So it's interesting now that we're going into the final stages that he's toned it down a little bit. In the press conference, he really did refuse 2 good opportunities to actually say, yes, it is because of Brexit that we've been able to do this. And he called on his, I quote, "my fabled diplomacy and tact." Fabled in that it's nothing but a fable. I'm not really sure that he's known for his diplomacy and his tact, but anyway, and he decided to say, I pay tribute to them all, talking about everybody working in the NHS, saying that they're doing wonderful work. Very diplomatic. And this is, for me, maybe a suggestion that Boris Johnson is, after all, not prepared to leave the EU without some kind of deal as we go into the final stages of negotiation. We have really just these few weeks, the end of the year, and it's gone into a really, really critical stage now. One sign also that there's been a softening of the stances on both sides, particularly from the British side, is the whole thing about fisheries. Now, fishing has been a very, very important symbolic part of the Brexit debate. Now, economists and people are a lot cleverer than me. I haven't really got any figures, but people have looked into this, and the actual economic relevance of the fishing industry in the UK has never really justified its prominence as part of the debate. It's been, I mean, we live in the age of alternative facts, in which most political debates now are, well, many political debates now are conducted on a basis of pure emotion, and facts and experts and figures have kind of gone out of the window. I mean, that's the only way I can explain Brexit in the first place. And those familiar with the Brexit debate will know that fisheries was always a very highly emotionally charged debate, and it's more a symbolic debate rather than a genuinely economic important factor. I think it all ties in with this very symbolic image of the UK as an island nation, obviously surrounded by waters. Obviously the fishing waters around the UK are very important and very rich, but it's all this, the supporters of Brexit always saw fishing rights as a symbol of their sovereignty, and that it's being regained. It's very easy to picture it as an image, a very graphic image. The UK, this island nation separate from the UK, reclaiming its waters. Under EU law, for instance, the UK waters were subject to the EU's rules, the Common Fisheries Policy as it's called, which meant that fishermen from everywhere in the European Union had access to waters throughout the whole of the EU, apart from the first 12 nautical miles around the coast. You have to remember also that the fact of the matter is, no matter how others may try and portray it, is that the UK fishing industry will not be able to fish its own waters completely. It's not large enough. The economic survival of the fishing industry around in UK waters depends on others from outside coming to use it. Now, this is recognised even by the British, of course, but it's something that's quite often deliberately missed out of the debate. Now, there's been a softening. The UK were originally demanding 80% of the value of all fish fished from outsiders, from other nations' fishermen. 80% of that value be returned to the UK. Now, in recent times, this has been reduced to 60% of the value. This, as I say, is very, very symbolic. 20% is very large, and it's always been the standard, the standard to be borne by those that talk hard about hard Brexit and no deal, we don't care, we're better off without you, you're worse off without us. So there's a very clear indication there's a softening of the stance, also from the EU perspective as well, maybe because there has been murmurings from various member states that to the negotiation team, we've been talking to the negotiation team, urging them not to allow the British too many concessions, maybe signalling that both sides are softening their stance. When it really gets to the nitty-gritty now, we're getting down to that deadline, and there's going to be some kind of agreement. The hard talk has probably stopped. But it was interesting that Matt Hancock's instinct was still to stoke the fire of this nationalist feeling, this backing Brexit, to basically, it was an untruth. If we're going to answer the question of the video in one simple statement, and of course it is not true, Brexit had absolutely nothing to do with the fast tracking of the approval for the vaccine. That would have happened if the UK had deemed it necessary, whether they were a full member or not, and indeed it has been still subject to the remit of the EMA, the European Medicines Agency. So no, very simple answer is no. But it's very interesting still that Matt Hancock, such a prominent and important politician, would choose to use that. It's very much a political instrument, and no doubt there will be a lot of less critical people out there that will read the newspapers, see the headlines, and also many tabloid newspapers that are very keen to put that slant on the debate, and there will be numerous readers of the Daily Mail, the Sun and the Star and all the others not really fact-checking and just accepting this argument that Brexit has put us ahead of the rest of the EU. I just thought it was particularly interesting to see Boris Johnson's reaction to that, obviously not saying too much, being very, very diplomatic. Maybe it's a sign of the times. These are very interesting times, of course. On the one hand, we've got the vaccine. All in all, I'm certain we're not going to be very far behind. It's a matter of days, and it's also going to depend on logistics, the systems that are in place, and surely being part of the EU in this coming year is going to help matters, certainly with transportation, customs, etc. I'm sure in Germany we're not going to really suffer for these few days that we are behind the UK. And most of all, as I say, whatever side of the debate you are on, whether you are pro-Brexit, anti-Brexit, whether you're in Germany, France, Spain, Italy, or the UK, or wherever, of course we have to recognise our privileged position being in developed, rich European countries. I'm sure we don't have the same situation as in some of the poorer countries in the world. We are going to be fine. We are very fortunate. And it's just really nice to be able to do a video with some positive news, just a simple bit of positive news, as I'm sure you'll all agree. I hope you, my viewers out there, are all healthy and safe still. We're going to have a little bit of patience, but I think it's right. We're going to get back to some kind of normality from the spring, the summer. Fingers crossed we get this vaccine rolled out. Remember to comment down below. Let me know if you're having a hard time or how you're feeling. Are you feeling as positive as I am now? Do you think there's light at the end of the tunnel? Also contribute to the Brexit debate. What did you think of Matt Hancock's statements? What did you think of how do you interpret Boris Johnson's kind of softening of the language, his toning down of the rhetoric? As ever, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done so, please do consider subscribing to the channel and leaving me a like, a thumbs up. I'd also like to thank my patrons, my Patreon supporters who support me with a little bit of a donation every month and get access to some exclusive content there, like the monthly Q&A. If that's something that will interest you, please check out the link in the description down below. Otherwise, I will see you here regularly on YouTube as ever. Thanks very much. I'll see you in the next one. Macht's gut, Leute.